All righty. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Adjust my chair. Ooh. Good morning. Wait till this thing comes online here. All righty. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I am coming online here. I want to talk about three things that I wish I knew when I started guitar. Now, if you're an intermediate guitar player, you're an advanced guitar player, you're a beginner guitar player, this still applies to you, okay? This is a good way to look back or analyze your current situation and just take inventory, realize, okay, like, am I doing all of these three things, or am I not, and we're going to go over each one of these three things in detail. So my first point is that I wish I knew when I was starting out that everyone's journey is different and it takes everyone a different amount of time to get to where they're going. So what that means is, okay, maybe, well, I guess personally, I felt that I started guitar at 13, but it wasn't until I was 29 that I was really able to feel like, I made it. So how many years is that? That is a lot of years. That's 18 years until I felt accomplished. Now, my journey is different than someone, say, like Derek Trucks, who was touring with the Allman Brothers when he was 11 years old. Now, I used to get really upset about, this other person is advancing faster than myself, so that must mean I'm not as good, or somehow unworthy of playing this instrument. And that's just really not the case. Everyone's journey is different. So if you feel like, hey, I look at this other person and they're getting better faster, why are they getting better faster? It just might be that's how it is. It doesn't mean that all roads won't converge later on, or that you will be better than this person. It just might take you a little longer. And I really wish I knew that as a kid growing up. I always thought, oh, if I'm not like the world's greatest guitar player by the age of 18, I'm worthless, and that's just not the case. And if I would have quit at 18, I would have never been able to do all the things I've done in my career, which has been really awesome, and it's just one of those things that you got to keep going and not try to compare yourself to others. Like, you obviously want to draw inspiration from others, which is a great thing. And it's a great thing to feel like, oh, I'm getting a fire lit under my butt because I see somebody else and it's inspiring. But once that inspiration turns negative, that's when things can kind of sour, and your feeling towards the instrument will sour. Okay, so that's my first thing. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone takes a different amount of time to mature at the instrument. For me, I feel like it took me 18 years. For other folks, like Derek Trucks, it might have taken him a couple years. For you, it might take you 5 years. It might take you 25 years. I can't really say. But that brings me to my second point. Is the guitar a hobby, or do you want it to be your profession? So I'll repeat that. Is the guitar, do you want it to be your hobby, or do you want it to be your profession? So let's think about what that means. So if it's your hobby, you don't necessarily need to go to school for it, and you don't really need to be out gigging. You just want to have fun and hang out in your basement. But if you want it to be a profession, that means a couple things, right? You want it to be a profitable venture. You probably need to have some type of education for it. You need to probably go to some type of school or community college, or get your master's. And you're also going to want to not judge yourself too hard, because say I opened a restaurant today. Well, in 5 years, it might be profitable, but for at least 5 years, it's going to be in the red, right? So if you decide that music is going to be your profession, you're going to want to take that type of mindset and say, okay, I got to be practicing, 8 hours a day. I got to be practicing as if I really, really want this. And growing up, for me, I always knew that I wanted it to be my profession. I was never in my later teens, I was unsure. And so that's why I went to a school and did not get any type of degree in music. But growing up, I always knew, okay, I really, really love this thing, and I want to have the option for it to become my profession. That's why I practiced 8 hours a day. So for me, that was extremely, like, that was in my mindset. And I think it's really, really helpful to have that mindset going in. Like, do you really love this instrument? And if so, what's your end game? Like, do you want to be in the studio recording, or being your own artist, or being on social media, or, that this, like, and making it your full-time job, essentially? And if that's the case, there's certain steps you want to do. But if it's just going to be your hobby, that's great. That's amazing. Like, that's most of my students, that's what they want. So it's one of those things where just setting your intention beforehand is really, really helpful, so you don't get caught later on in life like, oh, I wish I would have done, I really wish I would have pursued music, but now I'm a veterinarian. Or, oh, I really wish I would have done it a different way. Just kind of, and that's really a thing where you have to dig deep inside yourself. Nobody can answer that question for you. You're really going to have to answer that question for yourself. Like, what feels good? Do you feel like um, you want this to be your profession? I'm not going to lie to you. There are, ups and downs. There are good years. There are bad years, right? COVID was a terrible year for music and entertainment. There's other years that are better, right? But it's not going to be like a steady W-2 9 to 5 type of situation. And just knowing what you're getting into ahead of time. So what does that mean? Does that mean talking and interviewing people ahead of time? Talking to university professors, talking to gigging musicians, talking to YouTubers, talking to folks that are in the studio, just reaching out. And social media is a great way. A lot of folks will give you a lesson online, not even necessarily about here's how to play the guitar, but like, here is my experience as a professional musician. So yeah, I wish I would have set that intention earlier. Just really understanding, like, oh, what does it mean to be hobbyist, and what does it mean to be a professional? And I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys, or you have any other want to dig deeper into that. And my third thing I really wish I would have been conscious of as a beginner guitar player is, not everyone's teaching methods is going to make sense. So find a teacher that makes sense to you. So what do I mean by that? There's so many amazing musicians out there. There are so many incredible guitar players, piano players, you name it. But it's not necessarily the case that everyone is A, a great teacher, or B, their teaching style will resonate with me. So I've taken a lot of lessons with amazing guitar players that I just didn't really understand their mentality. I love the way he or she played, but I did not understand how they were communicating their thought process. And I thought that was on me. I felt bad, like, oh, I didn't understand what this guy meant, so I'm gonna I'm gonna feel bad about it for a day or a week. And I've done that, I didn't get it. And really, looking back, that's a terrible way to process information. It is just a reality of life that not everyone is going to be a great communicator, and not everyone that is a great player is going to be able to have a way to communicate their thoughts in a way that makes sense to you. So you need to find and reach out to different musicians and different guitar players and find what works for you. Find what teaching method works for you. Find what makes sense to you. Because if you don't, you're going to internalize it as a negative thing. Like, oh, I don't understand it. I am not somehow worthy. And that's just not the case. If you are just joining me right now, we're doing a little Thursday live stream. If you are an intermediate guitar player, or advanced, or just starting off, this entire live stream applies to you. So we're basically doing 3 things. I'll just do a quick recap. 3 things I wish I knew when I was just beginning guitar. The first is, everyone's journey is different. It took me 18 years to get to becoming really solid on the instrument. Someone like Derek Trucks, he was touring with the Allman Brothers when he was 11. Okay, if I would compare myself, I might be feeling bad about myself, but there's no time for that, and it's a rotten way I just draw inspiration rather than comparison. So The second thing I really wish I would have considered when I was starting, and you should definitely consider when you're starting the guitar, or if you're a couple of years in, is, do you want this to become your hobby, or do you want this to become your profession? If it's your hobby, you don't have to practice as much. You're allowed to stay home and hang out in your bedroom and just enjoy yourself, have fun with it. If it is going to be your profession, that is a different story. You need to get out there. You need to consider education. You need to consider talking to folks in the industry, whether that's university professors or gigging musicians or studio musicians, mixing engineers. You need to get out there and kind of figure out what path you want to take, as well as being able to practice multiple hours every day, and just setting that intention when you're young, so that you don't end up disappointed when you're 50 years old, like, oh, I wish I would have become a guitar player, or I wish I would have become this or that. So something to consider. And finally, the third thing is finding a teacher that makes sense to you. Not everyone is a great communicator. Not everyone is going to be able to teach you the way you want to be taught, and will be able to communicate information to you the way that you are able to understand it. So these are really, really three powerful subjects that we could write a book on each of these, right? But I'm just coming on here to give you inspiration, to give you some insight into my own journey, and hopefully that will allow you to have like a window into your own journey, and to just be uplifting and realize that this stuff takes time, and everyone's journey is different. It might take you 3 years to get to where you want to go, and it might take somebody else 13 years or 20 years, and that's okay, as long as you're enjoying the process. I'm just here to uplift you, inspire you, and say, don't give up. Don't give up. This stuff is so fun. I love playing this instrument, and I just want to inspire you to just keep going and keep enjoying the process of learning something new every day. That's what I always try to do. Every day, I just try to learn something new, big or small. And another crazy thing is, I know we're going a little over here, but another crazy thing is your plateaus will get further and they will get further and far between the more you play. So, if you're playing your first week, oh my gosh, I learned all these new bar chords, and that's great. And then you play for a year, and oh my gosh, I learned this or that. But as you playing longer, it's harder to make those jumps, right? And that's just because you're getting better and there's less stuff to learn. It's just going to take you longer to get to the next plateau. And don't be discouraged by that. That's a wonderful thing. And just be cognizant of that. If it feels like, oh, I've been playing for this long, just look back and say, oh my gosh, I know all these chords, I know all these scales, I feel comfortable doing this or that. Take inventory, take note of the good things. I just want to come on here, uplift you. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, Soulful Guitar Lessons. A lot more content coming your way. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button and give this video, if you've been watching for the past 15 minutes, give this video a thumbs up. I will see you very, very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great Thursday. Cheers.